Greg Osturian, our Government Affairs Director. Please take it away.
Thank you, President Rick. Hello and good morning to all fellow realtors. Today we will be talking about SB9, and the reason that we will do so is because there is a lot of misinformation out there that I would attempt and clear so you know the ins and outs of this bill, and it's up to you whether it's important or not to you. But at least at the end of the session, which would be about 5 to 6 minutes, you will know why it should be important to you or not important to you in that matter. So with that, I believe I have the sharing ability, and I'm going to do so. All right. Now you must see a blank white basically screen. But before I get into SB9 or Senate Bill number 9, there was an interesting article in New York Times. New York Times is chiming on California housing crisis, folks. And it was interesting. In support of SB9 and SB10 in that manner, New York Times calls California a banana state. This is from New York Times, from Paul Krugman, one of the most prolific writers in the United States. They do so, and they call it a banana state because, in their opinion, California says build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone. Hence the acronym BANANA. I just thought I'll share that with you. I mean, this is how housing crisis in California is affecting the entire nation, by the way. All right, on to SB9. First and foremost, there is a lot of misinformation, there is a lot of distortion, and we will be able to dispel some of it for you by providing some quick facts for you to hang on your hat to. SB9, prior to SB9, under SB 35 and further the ADU legislation, each a single family parcel today can build or can be comprised of 3 units, an ADU, a junior ADU, and the house itself. So we de facto have the potential of folks being able to build 2 additional units on their property, on their single family properties. SB9 comes out and says, look, you can do a split, a lot split, that you can put 2 duplexes in each lot and therefore increase the density by 1 unit in each lot. So there is a lot of information out there from NIMBYs like Livable California or United Way that this thing would result in 6 units per lot. It is just not true, folks. So the maximum is moving from 3 to 4 units. Also, you have to realize that the only person that can split the lot is the owner itself. The reason behind that, and by the way, CAOR was instrumental in this provision, is so that the owner would stay responsible and or basically be able to answer to his or her neighbors. So a developer cannot split the lot. The owner has to do that. Then there is an affidavit, again, CAOR Board of Directors, because they were so concerned about gentrification that they said they will support this bill if there is a 3-year affidavit after the permit process starts for the owner to be an owner occupied in the property. And of course, it's either a duplex or an ADU. So if you have applied for an ADU and you have an ADU, you no longer can split the lot. You can't do both. It's either a duplex and or an ADU. Where are we at with SB9, and of course SB10, which we'll talk not today, perhaps in a couple of weeks about it. First and foremost, it has passed and cleared the Assembly and the Senate. In fact, it has been sent to Governor Newsom for his signature, and the governor has to sign this before October 10th. Now, given the political arena and the atmosphere today, I don't believe this governor will sign anything controversial before the results of the recall election are known or are advertised and put to basically rest. So that's my personal opinion. So at any rate, SB9 and SB10 have both passed and cleared the Assembly and the Senate, and they are on the desk of Governor Newsom. So what do these two bills do? Believe it or not, it's going to affect somewhere close to about 400,000 parcels in the entire state of California, or about 5.4% of single-family zone parcels in California. I mean, that's a modest proposal. Now, this is up and down state of California, 400,000 parcels. Now, imagine with the CAR amendment of the 3-year affidavit for ownership, this number even is going to be dropping down further. So it's going to be less than 400,000. Now, in the scheme of things, when you look, if every owner that could, wanted, and did with the lot split, that comes to about less than 10% of the entire single-family inventory in state of California. But every owner cannot do that. There is an eligibility list. I will share about 5 most important one of them with you. So which parcels are eligible and which parcels are not? If the house is located in a historic district and or it's historical itself, then that parcel is ineligible for a lot split. If the split, you cannot do the split if you've had a tenant for the past 3 years and or you have an existing tenant. So that lot should have been either, or that house should have been either owner occupied and or not rented for at least 3 years prior to applying for the permit. And of course, the third one is that the owner should not have had performed an Ellis Act eviction in the past 15 years. For those of you that don't know what that means, is that owners in California by statute are capable of having or evicting their tenants if it is designed for them, if they want to get out of the rental business and they want to be able to occupy the property themselves. So that's the Ellis Act eviction. And of course, the parcel should be in a cluster as delineated by the Census Bureau and apply or adhere to the Census Bureau the segment that has been produced, especially with the newest census that we have, the results that we have. With that, President Rick, that concludes my, as always, short presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from Greg, please? I see none. Mike Napolitano.
Define the urbanized area or urban cluster.
Yeah, and this is a Census Bureau term. Mike, I would need somewhere close to about 10 minutes to explain that to you. I'll be happy to send it to you. I really, at this moment, cannot do it justice in explaining it to you.
No problem. I'll look it up, Greg. Thank you.
Sorry.
I was hoping for a brief. Thank you.
Ira?
Yeah, the city council in LA is against this, and they went on record as such. There are other people that are against it. And one of the issues that seems to be coming up is they're so concerned about housing that they're sort of screwing over property owners that have single family houses. And there's a theory that there's going to be a lot of blowback if this kind of activity continues. And municipalities are upset because they're taking away some of their authority. So I guess I'm concerned about possible blowback, even from city councils, if realtors are in favor of this stuff, because it says we're trying to go against what they're trying to do. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Of course I do. I mean,
of course you do. Yeah, thank you.
You have an hour. I'll be happy to sit down and share with you. But let me put it to you this way. All of this starts, this battle between NIMBYs and not in my backyard and yes in my backyard, YIMBYs and NIMBYs. All of this start from esoteric restrictions that has been in place in different jurisdictions. Look, you either want to understand and agree with increase of supply is the answer, or you are going to disagree with it 100%. That I can change your mind. But this is a modest approach. Now, again, 5.4%, according to Berkeley Tenet School, 5.4% of all the single family parcels in California will be affected. Look, when we started on the ADU journey, we had an off-road. Even though in City of Glendale, the granny flats were always in the zone, in the zoning code, that you could build up to 500 square feet of a granny flat behind your house. That has been around for 100 years. All ADU ordinance did is said, look, you can put a kitchen in it and you can rent it. If you for a moment believe that those granny flats prior to ADUs were not rented, I have a bridge to sell to you. So they were being rented, as opposed to having a full kitchen, they would use an electrical oven and so forth. So that has been around. I also want to reiterate one very important historical fact. By the way, this started from the city of Berkeley. City of Berkeley was the first city in the nation that adopted what we know as the German zoning code. And the reason they did that, Ira, was back in 1920s or 25 or 30s. This is after Supreme Court decision that you cannot you cannot have a prejudice against black or brown, so to say, or minorities wanting to build a house or wanting to live there, or in single-family zone areas. City of Berkeley came out with a clever way of even denying that to folks, and they did so because there was a black dance hall and Chinese laundry in one of the neighborhoods, and people were in uproar, people that were against minorities, and they adopted the zoning. So in the eyes of a lot of people in California, the zoning code, especially the single family zoning code, is considered a way of getting or keeping people out of single family areas. I just wanted to give you that perspective as well. Back to what you asked, and again, I do not believe for a moment that an SB9 is going to create millions of housing units. We are short, and we are short because we need about 200,000 units every year. My preference is ownership housing, by the way, not as much rental anymore. Because let's face it, if we really believe in the transfer of intergenerational wealth, we got to be able to give people that tool to be able to create that intergenerational wealth. And what is that? That's home ownership. This is why, and it's the easiest and the fastest way of doing it, the most effective way in our nation. And this is why I'm so adamant about these issues, about the housing issues that affect not only us right now, but our children. are brothers and sisters down the line. Let's get back to Glendale for a moment. When the ADU ordinance was adopted by the state of California, Glendale had maybe about 10 or 15 applications. To date, after 3 years, there are about 285 to 300 applications out of 27,000 parcels, Ira. So all of these little nibbles, the nibbling at causes of the California housing shortage should be welcomed by all of us. Now, I know some of us have a different perspective, and I go back to a slide that I shared with you a long time ago. Where you sit depends on where you stand depends on where you sit. I hope that in a long, protracted way that answered your question.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Ira, for that question. Any other questions from Greg, please? All right, seeing none.
President Bunyadi, I have just one more thing, and that will be the next week's presentation. Folks, CAL FIRE has just put out a directive that if you live in a high fire hazard area and you live in a cul-de-sac that is more than 800 feet long, you will not be able to remodel, build, or add to your house. I am in touch with our fire department, our local authority, to find out what on earth that means. CAR is really looking into it and see if there is a legislative fix to that, because this would affect a lot of properties, especially in the city of Glendale. You can't remodel, you can't build, you can't add. Think about that. Thank you very much, Mr. President. That just about takes me to the end of the presentation.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you, Greg.